In my short time in Washington, I've seen firsthand how the system is broken. A small group of failed voices who think they know everything and understand everyone want to tell everybody else how to live and what to do and how to think. But you aren't going to let other people tell you what you believe, especially when you know that you're right. And never, ever quit. You never quit. If I give you one message to hold in your hearts today, it's this: never, ever give up. And I want to thank you because, boy, did you come out and vote. Boy, oh boy, you voted. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. America is better when people put their faith into action. As long as I am your president, no one is ever going to stop you from practicing your faith or from preaching what's in your heart.
Yeah. That's right. Come on.
It's been a little over a year since I've spoken on your beautiful campus, and so much has changed. Right here, the class of 2017, dressed in cap and gown, graduating to a totally brilliant future. And here I am standing before you as President of the United States. So I'm guessing there are some people here today who thought that either one of those things, either one, would really require major help from God. Do we agree? And we got it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The Trumpster spoke at Liberty. Look, I could not be more pleased about this. I'm just going to lay all the cards on the table. And by the way, partisan, no partisan, absolutely amazing speech. Need a lot more of it. Look, the recipe to Donald Trump is to just full-fledged engage with the left, engage with them. And that's all the tentacles of the left. That's the media, that's the academia, that's the mockery, that's the cultural bullying. You know, this is probably arguably my favorite thing about his presidency. And full disclosure, it is also the most annoying aspect of his presidency to other people, even conservatives I know, even friends of mine. It's the aspect of the presidency that just drives them up a wall. It's this attitude that he's always turning over the apple cart. He's always annoying the left, the elites. You know, we have just been marinated in, culturalized, come up in this environment in which if you share these values, if you share this worldview, and I mean, he was hitting on all cylinders at Liberty. You know, it's the Judeo-Christian kind of lauding, it's the conservative lauding, it's the, you know, we're not apologizing for disagreeing with the left on any level. In fact, we might even salt the wound. You know, this is so countercultural to almost everybody I know, including myself, that it just rubs people the wrong way. It goes back to your childhood where you just don't want people not to like you and you don't want to put on the wrong face. But I've always been in this particular instance, I've always been in the camp of Donald Trump's thinking. Now, granted, I'm a bull in a china shop. Granted, I have thick skin, and granted, I'm a little bit of an instigator and a contrarian. So I admit that. I'm very self-aware. I know who I am. But that's not actually the reason that I like this approach. That's not the reason. It's not just because I'm that type of person, and clearly the Donald is that type of person. That's actually not the reason. The reason is because I've examined this for years, for decades. And this idea that you would bow or kowtow or even throw, conciliatory, pearls to swine, if you will, or try to appease the media Democrat complex or whatever the case may be. It's such a fruitless venture. It's such a foolish thing to do. You have those rhinos, you have the John McCains, and you have these guys, the Boehners and the Connells and all these guys that wake up every day and it's the first thing that pops into their mind, not values, not what do they believe, not how to bring those things into fruition. No, how can we polish this? How can we put on a veneer? How can we present ourselves so that we're palatable to these people who fundamentally hate you, The left doesn't think you're wrong. The left hates your existence. They hate your ability to speak. They hate your ability to move freely among them. That is a fact. That is the truth. Denying that is just foolishness. So the other option is just be honest about it. Quest to once again normalize this stuff. That's what the left fears most, is their monopoly in the minds, their monopoly in the sort of popular thinking, that you normalize this stuff. Ronald Reagan, the greatest gift he gave to America is to normalize wisdom, truth, to normalize rationality. Listen, what conservatism really is just a respect for what is. That's what conservatism is. It's a respect and an adherence and an unabashed praising, if you will, of the actual, of the real, of what exists, of what it's saying that's beautiful. It's saying that works. It's saying that brings us prosperity and unity and safety. The left constantly undermines what is real. I mean, look in the genre of science and in the genre of gender and the genre of social engineering. All they ever do is try to circle a square. And then they pound that drum and try to normalize that thinking. And when somebody comes out thoroughly rejecting that, saying that is hogwash. Why? Because it clearly is hogwash. I'm not going to pretend that it's not hogwash. I'm not going to tip my hat to it. I'm not going to tap dance to it because it's absurd. It's absurd. It's wrong. It's incorrect. When somebody does that, it's almost like shocking. It's like a glass of cold water in your face today. Not because the person is wrong, but because you've been so culturalized, you've been so propagandized by the left that it sends this like knee-jerk reaction into you. You stop thinking, is this statement true or false? And you start thinking, do the leftist cultural gatekeepers approve of what I just said? Would they frown upon this? Will they mock this? Will they contort this and malign this and besmirch this and slander and libel this? Because that is above all other things. And there's just there's a portion of society, and it happens to be led by the leader of the free world, which has got to be just turning leftists in pretzels. But the leader of the free world is bull charging this. And by the way, there's a lot of things politically that are helping this movement. I mean, you are seeing an upheaval of Western culture. And it's not so much that people have an appetite for conservatism. I'm not actually delusional enough to think that. I don't think that's what's going on. I would like to think that there's going to become a crack in the dam that is leftist cultural homogeny and bullying, and then that will eventually lead to clearer thinking. But that's not what's going on right now. Leftism has just rendered itself so absurd that there's a rejection of it, but not necessarily an acceptance of what guys like me think is the right way of governing or viewing society, or looking at society through the lens of what I would consider to be common sense and value-driven policy, etc. That's not what's happening. But just the sheer rejection of leftism is allowing voice, normalcy, a hearing, even if it's through the maligned, contorted kaleidoscope of chaos that is the media. Even if that's the case, people are still hearing it. And this is a wonderful thing. The fact that the president shows up at Liberty University and gives such a speech is just part and partial proof that this is happening. I just want to be on the record saying this. In my lifetime, I have never heard conservatism, Christianity, normal sort of Americana, traditional Americana values articulated from a president so boldly, so unapologetically, and just almost flying in the face of what the cultural bullies will say, think, or do the next day. And of course, they all did that. It was a cacophony of mocking and the whole nine yards. I mean, there's nothing new under the sun with the left. It's a playbook. They just turned to the right page and just started parroting. But nonetheless, I wanted to get back to this thought because I rabbit trailed. This type of stuff is happening all over Europe, this rejection of leftism. And a lot of it is because they just pushed it too far. The leftists have just lost the plot, literally. I mean, the other day I heard an article. Now, these are from like think tanks on the left. This isn't like fringe stuff, where they were saying that Wonder Woman, because she has a nice figure and whatever, she's she should be like fat and lesbian. I mean, you know what was actually said. It was all like cultural appropriations and exploitation of the female culturally constructed role. I mean, it was just she's just academic fecal matter just thrown around into your earbuds. But essentially, it was just we're upset because Wonder Woman is gorgeous. Now here, think about this cognitive dissonance. Think about what the average person, not the tonal lunatic that's studying gender studies at one of these Ivy League universities. Think about the normal person, right? So the actual person they cast as Wonder Woman. I know this is another rabbit trail. Stick with me here. The actual person they cast as Wonder Woman, it was like an Israeli warrior. I'm not even kidding. Like all the bona fides, an Israeli stone cold warrior that happens to look like a pinup model. So for all the claptrap and the henfesting that we hear about, women need to be shown in this light, and women are always disrespected. Women are barefoot, naked in the kitchen, and churning out babies, and we're just tired of this. We're burning our bras. We're coming to the end of this glass ceiling of patriarch poison. It's done. We're done with it. Well, so Hollywood responds, dutifully by casting, one of like 8 actual female warriors on the planet as Wonder Woman. And because she doesn't look like a land whale in her costume, the same exact feminist, leftist, deranged padded room sedative, crowd. What's this? The woman happens to be, delightful to look at. What's going on here? I mean, this is the madness that is left. And you can take this example anywhere. Helicopter this example of madness, put it in economics, put it in the discussion of Islam and the plague that has become in its political form. Anywhere you want to go, anywhere in culture that the left, their filthy hands are touching, and this degree of madness is happening. So even in very, very liberal environments where they don't agree with conservatism. Conservatism has been tarred and feathered, et cetera, in the minds of the people. But the left has gone so off the crazy cliff that they're almost like they're flirting again with what was once radioactive or toxic. That's actually what's happening in your midst. And the left still doesn't realize it. They still don't realize it. Anyway, so much so, this has happened so much so that Donald Trump and Donald Trump's ilk are emerging into power positions. Look, France, and I've been to France, that is a very, very liberal place. The far-right candidate, as far-right as you can go, Le Pen, almost won, gave a real run for this clown this 39-year-old clown that they elected, who's going to be a joke and go down like a kamikaze Japanese plane. But she almost won. This is how much leftism and the insanity that leftism is being rejected. Obviously, you have Brexit, you have Trump, you have these elections springing up, and they're going to continue to spring up all through Western Europe. And this is allowing hearing, again, we're able to return to this Trump speech. Trump has the right attitude here. He has the right attitude. Don't apologize. Don't capitulate with the left. Don't apologize to the left. It gets you nowhere. Railroad them. Run right over them with a different message. Knowing that they'll see what bothers a lot of conservatives about this is the follow-up, the shrapnel, the outpouring of hatred that will come from this. But it will happen no matter what speech he gives. Get that through your skull if you're a rhino or if you're a quote-unquote reasonable conservative. He could have given the most benign, politically correct, cross all the T's, dot all the I's of whatever he's supposed to say. And Donald Trump is going to get sulfur from the sky by way of the media. So why not say what you want to say? Why not bring that alternative message? Why not do that? Look, this is why I'm in this camp. It's not because I'm delusional to what the left has done. I've been in social commentary for a long time. I've had a YouTube channel. I've had a terrestrial radio show. I've had a television show. I know what the left does when you're me. when you say what you want to say and do not kowtow or bow to them. I know that, but they will do that regardless. Any departure, no matter how slick or packaged or no matter how PC approved, any message that threatens pure religious dogmatic leftism will receive the exact same scorched earth approach from the left. So you might as well be brave and courageous. And ladies and gentlemen, bravo to Donald Trump, because this speech, listen, it's worthy of your time. I would say watch this speech in its entirety, because I've never seen anything like it. And it's also just a fundamentally inspiring speech. Look, if you're not in the dungeon, the mental and intellectual dungeon that is leftism, this is an inspiring speech. It's a speech about the future. It's a speech about what we can be. I've been in these environments. Obviously, I've been around these, Judeo-Christian establishments, be it educational or cultural. Think of like Chick-fil-A when you walk in there, right? What kind of environment are you in? People are much more civil. There's actually joy. The eyes aren't like dead. You know what I mean? The soul's not dead. There's, respect, and, they're not like clinging to every kind of secularist vice just to get through the day. This environment, right? Liberty University is just such an environment. For all the flack that they inevitably get for, anti-science, anti-proper thinking on relationships, some of these guys are actually saving themselves for marriage. It's so repulsive to like the stand-up comedian late night crowd or the leftist elites, the cultural elites, the academic elites. It's just unthinkable. It's like the worst thing ever, behaving like a human being rather than an animal. Anyway, when you're around these people, you realize they resemble like genuine humanity, and that joy, unless your soul has become conditioned to hate it, it's positive, and it does own the future, because the left has just dehumanized. They have just dehumanized everything they've touched. They've created a culture of death, a culture of cynicism. The only humor that they think is funny is like the most base possible humor. Actually clear thinking people come from a God-fearing environment. I mean, this is going to seem very taboo, but the people that actually respect what science gives us, the examination, discovery of the natural world, these people are going to be God-fearing people who are thinking clearly, who are not trying to turn science into junk science and shove their secularist, oftentimes politically laced science down your throat, but actually examining. Where does the evidence lead? Those people are going to be Judeo-Christian, God-fearing people. The same thing with the social sciences or psychology or economics. The clarity of thought that comes from the balanced human being that is based in mind, body, soul, creator, creation, understanding. These people will change the world. These people will be free from the albatross, the chain around your neck that is godlessness, that is secularism, that is the stand-in religion of leftism. Listen, what I'm telling you is true. It doesn't matter if it's countercultural. It's true. Liberty gets that. I could not be more pleased. The president of the United States stands on that platform, says the things he does. Look, you're in a cultural war. You are in a tug-of-war battle, the likes of which we have never seen, for the fate of this nation. And, that speech at Liberty University is like a shot across the bow to the left. I mean, they fear that stuff more than anything else. I'm telling you the truth. Be people of fortitude, character, and always courage.